This week on Flicker Effect, we've got reviews for Office Christmas Party, Manchester by the Sea, and Captain Fantastic. There are lots of trailers to discuss, including, of course, Spider-Man Homecoming. And as always, we'll finish things up with our One Cool Thing segment. Lots to talk about. Let's get started. Hello and welcome everybody to Flicker Effect, episode number 196. We're recording this on Sunday, December 11th, 2016. I'm David Lotz. Joining me this week is Bobby Jackson.
Hey everyone.
Yasha Wilson.
Hey.
And Michelle Curry.
Hey everybody.
Just a reminder that this podcast is available on iTunes, Google Play Music, and the iHeartRadio app. You can find us just by searching for Flicker Effect. That is 2 words. Also, these episodes are available on our YouTube channel as well. Just go to youtube.com/Flicker Effect. So, as I said, tons to talk about this week in terms of trailers anyway. And we got some movies to talk about too. We have seen a few things. As always. First, how's it going, guys? How was your week?
It's good.
It was a good week for trailers.
Good. It's been busy, but it's been good.
It's been busy, but it's been good, yes. I don't know if you guys care, but the Rogue One premiere was last night. And I know I try to basically avoid listening or seeing any buzz about anything just because if it's bad, I don't want to know. So that way I just go either way. I don't want to know because if it's bad, it'll just bum me out and then I won't get excited. But it's kind of impossible to avoid some things. Like if you're going to scroll through film and TV news and the way things are titled, the way articles are titled, it's impossible to avoid it. And at least it sounds like things went pretty well last night at the premiere. Not just went well like the premiere went well, but it sounds like the movie's pretty good. So
well, thanks, David. I actually hadn't seen any news, but now that you've went ahead and
I'm telling you now.
Just going through my Instagram feed last night and this morning. I mean, Jesus, just going through Instagram, because I follow Will Wheaton and Kevin Smith and just other people that have really nothing to do with the movie other than just being nerds in our, little world community, I guess. And yeah, they're all like, we're here. The movie was great. That's all we can say. Blah, blah, blah. They're all very excited. Everybody's happy. Everybody's moving. I'm like, oh, well, I guess things went well then. Great. It's hard to avoid shit even on Instagram. They're taking photos of them at the after show preview party, whatever. And they're all having a good time, but they're all also trying to comment and be like, it's good. Won't be disappointed. And they're throwing out, quick little what they can since nobody can really say anything. It's hard to avoid.
So when is everybody seeing it then? When is our group seeing it? I know I have tickets for Friday afternoon. What about everybody else? Anybody seeing it Thursday?
Saturday night here.
Saturday night.
Thursday night
Friday. Or Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, Bobby, or is it just Thursday?
Thursday at 7, and I'm sure sometime on Saturday morning, but I'm not sure.
There it is. Okay, that sounds a little bit more like you. That sounds a little. I'm seeing it Friday afternoon after my office Christmas party.
Nice.
Nice.
Yeah, pretty cool to get off early. So I went and I bought a reserve seat ticket to see it at 3:20 or something like that, some obscure time.
Oh, sweet. Nice.
Cool. Well, speaking of office Christmas parties.
Oh.
What a
segue!
What a segue!
Yasha, you saw Office Christmas Party this week.
Let's get right to it, shall we?
Let's do it.
All right then. Yes, I saw Office Christmas Party today, and it is pretty much what you would expect. It is mindless silliness, a little bit of crass humor, some really raunchy jokes, and yeah, it delivered. It was pretty much what I was expecting. It was directed by Josh Gordon and Will Speck. Jason Bateman, who I think is amazing when he does comedy. I've always enjoyed his work. Olivia Munn, who plays I guess you can say pseudo love interest in the movie, but she seemed removable. You could put any leading actress in that role and they would have done just as well, which is kind of, I hope that's not too mean, but that's really how it feels. T.J. Miller was really funny. Jennifer Aniston is funny as always. The person that really stole the movie for me was actually Kate McKinnon and Courtney B. Vance, this African-American actor who you might know from Law and Order, Terminator Genesis, just to name a couple of his popular works. Kind of a straight man for the most part, but when he got in there and really went after it, he was really funny. Like, he was really enjoyable. I enjoyed the movie. It was silly. It was funny. I did laugh out loud at some very, very awkward moments, but it was still a very, I enjoyed it. And it seemed like the crowd around me was enjoying it as well. It was what you would expect from a movie like that is revolving around partying and getting absolutely mind-numbingly drunk.
So would you say go out to the theater to see it, or I could wait?
I mean, there's a lot of big comedy heads in here, big comedy people. So I would go see it maybe as a matinee. Like, I saw it for a matinee, so it was like only $6 for me. Would I go and say, oh, this is the number one priority, and go see this at like Friday evening at like 8:00, a great date movie? Maybe not, because it was pretty predictable, but it did have its moments where you did really laugh out loud. So I did enjoy seeing it in the theater. I think people would enjoy it as well.
Cool. Well, Office Christmas Party, that came out, this weekend, right?
Yes, that opened this weekend.
Nice. Moving on. Michelle, I'm curious. You saw Manchester by the Sea today.
Yeah. This one's being...
Jealous.
Yeah?
I'm jealous.
Well, this one's being pretty heavily touted as Oscar bait.
It's got like a 97%.
Yeah, I'm looking at Rotten Tomatoes right now.
I want to say last I saw it was like 144 fresh reviews and like 4 rotten.
Yeah, it's a 97%. In case anybody doesn't really know, Manchester by the Sea stars Casey Affleck. Oh, I'm going to start something up. It's produced by, what's his name? Matt Damon's production company he's got going. Yeah. I'm trying to think. It's based on a novel written by a guy that I keep wanting to say like Kenneth Lonergan. That's it. Basically, real quick synopsis is there's this guy named Lee, played by Casey Affleck, and his older brother passes away, and he finds out that in his death that he was named guardian of his nephew, and just kind of the interactions between him and his nephew and dealing with the situation they're given in. Here's the thing. I'll be honest. I'm not a fan of this film. I didn't like it. Its pacing was tedious. Absolutely just... God, there's so much in this film that could be cut out. The pacing was absolutely glacial. Casey does a really great job. I will definitely give him that. I thought his delivery was spectacular. And you're watching it, and it's a sad story folded over top of an even more sadder story. And I know that's not proper grammar at all. And it's, it's moving in certain aspects of it, but I think the way in which they unfolded the dynamics between the characters and the way the characters are actually written and I guess the best way to put it is their personalities unfold it's boring. It's boring and it's incredibly slow, and I feel like there was just so much that could have moved forward with the story to get to the point that you get to. I don't know, but at the same time, like, I get why everybody's like loving it, because it literally is Oscar. It's Oscar bait, like from the beginning to the end. The entire thing is done that way. I really didn't like the music. I thought the music was not good. It's just no. I'm not a fan.
You sound bored talking about it, Michelle. Like, that's how bad it is.
I was bored in the film, and honestly,
she really does.
Like,
she sounds bored talking about it. It's like, so I'll talk about this Manchester by the Sea. I mean, who gives a shit really about the title? It was this, and oh god, it's just, oh god.
I mean, for the positives, I'll say visually, the cinematography is actually quite good. And like I said, Casey Affleck he does a really good job. That's all I've got. Like, I was literally watching my clock waiting for this movie to finish. Like, it just wouldn't finish.
Yikes.
Like, I was just like, this movie could wrap up any minute now. It could literally stop right now, and I'd be fine with that. I'm like, I literally just need this to end. And it's hilarious because I'm like 97%. What's wrong with me? Why am I not a fan of this film? And I just I left the theater. It kind of put me in a mood. Honest to God.
Jesus.
I was kind of in a cranky mood when I left. Like, I was in a really great mood this morning. I'm like, yeah, I want to go see Manchester by the Sea. Hell yeah, it's a big Oscar movie. Woo, it's got a lot of buzz. It's like 97%. What? Man, I walked out. I was like, I'm in a funky ass mood. I was totally messed. I was like messed up. Like, I was driving away from there. I was like, I just need to go home and watch something. It doesn't have to be a cheerful something. I literally just need to watch absolutely anything else to put me in any other frame of a mood right now. Yeah. I was not happy.
You know what's sad? It's like this movie sounds like something that's going to be released in 2017. It almost has the exact same one sentence description for this movie. An uncle is forced to take care of his teenage nephew after the boy's father dies. A single man is raising his child prodigy niece, Mary, is drawn into custody battle with his mother.
What's that?
That movie is Gifted, coming out in 2017, starring Chris Evans, which looks really good. Chris Evans, Octavia Spencer. But it's like, does that not sound like the same movie aside, just a few sentences, a few words changing the sentence? There's no child prodigy in Manchester by the Sea, but it just sounds like the same damn movie, just a few quirks changed in here and there.
Yeah, I mean, really, the main part of the film that's actually what sets the way that Casey's character Lee is an event that happens in the past, and I mean you slowly see that event unfold as the story is going on, and yeah, it is earth-shatteringly heartbreaking sad story, and you get it. You're like, I totally understand why this guy is the way this guy is now. Like, I mean, it's them unfolding the story and his personality and why he is the way he is. And even though that event happens, and even though that's what creates him into the person that he currently is, it is still just, it's boring. So, yeah.
Can anybody answer me, like, when was the last time that Casey Affleck did something that was uplifting and cheerful? Because he always seems like he's pouting in every movie that he's doing.
Ocean's 11, Ocean's 12, and Ocean's 13. Boom.
Right. Yeah, but I mean, recently.
I know.
That's almost
recently,
10 years ago now.
I realize that. I'm making No, I know. And then I realize that he does, much deeper things. And he did it. And I have absolutely nothing but good phrases. Do I think he's worthy of an Oscar of this performance? Not really. But was he good? He was quite good. I'm not going to lie. But yeah, and again, all I keep thinking is, what's wrong with me? Why am I the only person that's not feeling this film like at all? So yeah, I mean, I would be curious to see what you guys think. I'm not saying not go see it. It's just, for me, this movie just did nothing for me. Like, just absolutely nothing for me.
I mean, I was going to go see the movie anyway, but now I'm definitely going to go see the movie because I'm like, whenever I hear like such a stark contrast of an opinion on, something like now I'm like, man, I got to see where I fall. So
right
now I'll definitely be seeing it, but I was going to see it probably anyway because like we just said, it's highly reviewed. We're coming up on our top 10 show. It's definitely one of those movies I'm like, all right, I got to fit this one in to see. So
yeah,
I'll be checking it out.
Yeah.
And don't feel bad, Michelle, because it seems as though Samuel L. Jackson didn't care for it either. So
I saw that this morning.
Yeah.
He's just pissed because he's like, it's total Oscar bait. And I now am fully in agreement with it. Like, this morning I was like, oh, Samuel, you're just being bitter. And now I'm like, no,
so,
Samuel.
So what happened?
He was just saying it's whitewashing and it's, Oscar bait, and it's very obvious how this whole thing is going down. Like, it's just written, done. The whole thing is just, he's tired of seeing things created just specifically to get this. Like, it's not like, oh, it just happens to be a good script. It just happens to be a really great performance. Like, it's like everything. He just feels like they're just filling in what the, I guess, kind of like a quota is to get people to want to. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And yeah, he talked about.
Go ahead.
He talked about that and Collateral Beauty, I believe, as being kind of Oscar bait.
And it
type
is.
film.
And I fully admit Collateral Beauty is totally Oscar bait, and I want to see
Even
it. I
David
do.
said that, I think.
Yeah.
I hope he gets
That's
it. too.
that's my
I mean,
reaction to
it's-
that trailer. Is that it just seems like it's trying too
No.
hard.
Totally is. It's very, blindside looking, like it's total Oscar bait, and I admit that. And this looks like Oscar, and it is Oscar bait. But I'm watching it, and it's Oscar bait ad nauseum. Like it's just, I'm watching, just like, and I can't say, oh, it's a bad film. I did not enjoy this film. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
I can't say it was a bad film. I didn't enjoy it. I personally,
Fair enough.
no.
Oh,
All
that's
right,
fair enough.
I'm done beating that
I mean,
up.
yeah, I
I'm
was going to
sorry.
ask you what you said because I see what you mean. I don't really have to ask, but like, because you had made a point to say, look, you did not like it, you don't get it, but at the same time, you can see why everyone likes it. And I mean, in one sense, I'm like, well, what do you mean by that? But I mean, I think I know what you mean.
I get it because I think some people really enjoy, I guess, strong character based. And I'm saying this, and I enjoy strong character based storylines. I don't know. I can't say I didn't connect with this story in any way. Everyone faces death in their family and friends, their life. Like everybody goes through a situation similar to this. Everyone deals with, grief and sadness and death in completely different ways. And even in different situations, you can completely grieve in a completely different way over different human beings. Like you could literally grieve one way for one death and a whole nother way for another death. Like that's just life, And I'm not saying it's a fun part. It's just, it's a fact of life. And there's points in the film, right? There's points in this film that make that point very obvious. It's saying, yep, you've got to go through this. You have to deal with this. This is when you're the responsible party. You're the one doing this and this and this and this. And I don't know. I guess there's just, like I'm saying, everybody can connect to this film in some way. I don't think that there's not a connection you can make to it. But at the same time, like this film just didn't pull me into a loving embrace. I don't know. It just didn't do it for me. And I really hate that I cannot vocalize in the proper words how
Wow.
I think I'm still processing a lot of it because God, I was so funky after this film. I was just
No, I get it. But yeah, that's Manchester by the Sea. It's been in theaters about 4 weeks, but pretty limited release. It went a little wider this week, but it's still fairly limited. It's only in 366 theaters right now.
I am curious to see what you guys think. I mean, I'm not saying don't go see it. I'm saying people should still see this film and create their own judgments on these things. I mean, and that's with any movie we review, obviously. But I'm curious to see. Like, maybe I don't know. I'm curious. I really am.
Yeah.
I'm the weird 1% on this one, apparently.
I mean, I might even see it this week. I can tell you right now, we probably won't talk about what my thoughts are next week. We'll just be talking about Rogue One, but
Right.
we'll get to my thoughts on it eventually. And I'm sure it sounds like Bobby will probably see it at some point. It sounds like you're interested.
Yeah, it's too high on the list of people's awards list for this year for me not to see it because I just need to know for myself if I need to place it on my list or not.
Cool. So you saw Manchester by the Sea. You were not a fan. You felt like you needed to go home and watch something else, and that was Captain Fantastic.
It was. And this is a film that came out much earlier this year. And I was intrigued to see it when it came out. But you can rent it right now on Amazon, a couple other things. It's easily accessible now for rent. This is a film that stars Viggo Mortensen. And it's about him and his family that at some point in time went off the grid. And it's about him and his family just coming to terms with an event in their life and being outsiders for so long, living off the grid and then having to deal with society and then society's norms getting, way kind of pushed on them and them kind of pushing back. Anyways, and Viggo's performance has been getting great reviews, and so I've been really kind of curious to watch it. And I'll be honest, I really enjoyed this. It was just so stark to go from Manchester by the Sea to this, and I don't want to give spoilers away per se, but there's a death in this one too. And so I went from watching one movie that focuses around a major death of a family member that was basically the core of the family, and how the family dealt with it, to watching this film about the death of a family member who was the core of the family who died, and then how that family dealt with it. And it was just two completely different ends of the spectrum. And I don't know. It was just done in such a way. And yeah, Viggo's performance is great. The story, I think, is really intriguing. It's something that speaks to some of the things that are going on in culture today. And, you know, watching it, and there's 6 kids in this, and these kids are spectacular. Like, they're enjoyable to watch on film. And I think they all did spectacularly well. And I thought, I don't know, this film was moving to the right levels for me, emotionally, and going through certain situations. And I'm sure there's some things that people will be like, that's really harsh. Why would that happen? And but I enjoyed certain parts of that. And yeah, I mean, it's a counterculture kind of a situation. But this one I really thoroughly enjoyed, and I look forward. I hope to see this one get something for sure. And the music's really good in this one. Like, there's a lot of positives. Like, I'm watching, I'm like, yeah, no, this is done really well. Like, it just captivated me. This one made me very happy, and that one's got an 82% on Rotten Tomatoes right now. So
cool.
That's where I'm at.
Captain Fantastic.
Captain
like you
Fantastic.
said, this came out back in July.
Yeah.
And it sounds like it's available to rent right now. So check it out.
Yeah, it's on like everything right now. Yeah.
I might try to fit that in before the end of the year. We'll see.
It's good. I like that one. That one was good. I definitely recommend that one.
Cool.
And I say that knowing it's probably not going to be everybody's cup of tea, quite honestly. This one, I think some people will be turned off, but yeah, never know.
Yeah, but speaking of fitting in movies, it's that time of year for me. As my normal tradition is to miss a bunch of movies throughout the year and then try to start squeezing a bunch in December. I cram for finals. I'm cramming for finals right now. I only crammed one film in this week. It was a busy, crazy week, but we both watched Green Room this week, you and I, Michelle.
Which is a film both of us have really wanted to watch.
Yeah, I remember when you talked about it, Bobby. I know you saw it back in theaters when it came out. It came out back in May, and you were pretty happy with it. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, you said at the time that you would be surprised if it doesn't make your top 10, and this was back in May.
Yep, still sticking by that.
Yeah, spoilers. No.
There's plenty, to go around in the top 10, but
I know.
It's still, close to my heart.
Sometimes we can call a few things for top 10. You just kind of know.
I know that.
You have a feeling.
But yeah, finally watched that this week. It was high on the list of movies I had to catch up on. So it's really the first one I've watched in my finals cramming. It stars Anton Yelchin, Imogen Poots are both in it, and of course Patrick Stewart. A few other names or people you might recognize, but it's about a punk rock band out on tour. And when I say out on tour, I mean in their van, going to bars and odd restaurants, as you see in the movie, to get gigs. And they end up playing at a neo-Nazi bar. And while they're there, they end up witnessing a murder. So their drama ensues, we'll just say, afterwards. And I was pretty impressed with the movie. It was quite good. I mean, I don't know. I by the time I had seen it, I've heard so many good things, not only from Bobby, but on top 10 lists, and how highly rated it is, that I had pretty high expectations, and it met my expectations. I wouldn't say it exceeded my expectations, but it was right there. I enjoyed the film quite a bit. It was definitely a lot gorier than I expected it to be. Not that that's bad. That's fine. And would I recommend checking it out? I definitely would. But yeah, Green Room. We rented it. It's definitely available for rental right now. Like I said, this has been out a while. It came out back in May. I enjoyed it. Michelle, you saw it as well?
Yeah. That was okay.
Just okay, huh?
Just okay.
Huh.
I thought it was, I don't know. I thought it was really traditional in a certain sense of that kind of genre of a film. I also will say I was surprised by the goriness. Not that it changed any like opinions that I was having of the film at the time I was watching it, but I was just like, wow, there's definitely gorier than I thought this was going to be. But it played out pretty much the way I was thinking it would, and I didn't think it had any overly spectacularly like moments of twists or anything. It just kind of was like, oh yeah, they went there. Okay, they did that too. All right, like it just, I don't know. It's just kind of ho hum. Not bad. Just
no, you didn't like it. I get it. It's fine.
Didn't do anything. It didn't do anything for me. It just was kind of like, oh, that's okay. Like it's okay. Like it's not. I don't know. Meh.
Okay. Cool. Well, but yeah, that's Green Room. I liked it. Michelle, not as much, but thought it was all right. Moving on, Bobby, what did you watch this week? You watched a couple. You watched a show. I believe it's a Cinemax show, right?
It is. It's called Quarry, and I actually watched it based on the recommendation of a friend of mine. He had been talking highly about it, and this was a while ago. It was probably during the summer, so I finally had a chance to sit down and watch at least the first episode to get my feet wet to see what I thought of the series. And the series is about this guy who's a Vietnam War vet, and he's returning home from the war. So it's set in 1972 in Memphis, and he comes home kind of disillusioned, and there's this whole situation to basically where everyone was kind of anti-war at the time. So he's not greeted in a happy manner, thought of as a killer, and people just don't want to give this guy a break. So along comes this mysterious person that is called the broker, who offers him a job to be a hitman, and he really doesn't want to go down that road. He doesn't like to be thought of as a killer for hire. So situations happen, and he actually ends up having to take on that role. And within that first episode, you kind of see this character in his, I guess maybe like the familiar world of war, but being at home. And it's a very slow burn. The first episode is a lot of the setup in terms of seeing who this character is, establishing him in his home life, and then getting him introduced into what this world of being a hitman is like. And the interesting part about it is the guy who's called the broker, who ends up becoming his person who's in charge of, who gives him these assignments. You have no clue who this guy is. He could be working for the CIA, or he could be working for the mob. You just don't know. And he's kind of almost beholden to this guy because of something that happens within the episode. So it's this journey. And from what I saw, it was okay. It was a decent episode. I am going to keep watching it based on the strength of the way my friend was talking about it. He made it seem like there's a lot of stuff that's going to come down the road once you're watching it and getting more involved and deeper into the series. And it's only on its first season, so it's easy, a good chance to jump into it because it hasn't gone that far. And it's Cinemax, so I believe it's only like 10 episodes or so. I'm not exactly sure how many, but it's easy enough to jump into at this point. So the first episode, like I said, was decent, but enough of it is there to keep me watching.
Very cool. What else did you watch this week?
There was a thing that I remember seeing at Comic-Con for a new Justice League cartoon that was coming out called Justice League Action, and I'd kind of forgot about it. And I was going around on YouTube, not really looking at anything in particular, and then on the sidebar, I saw Justice League Action episode 1, and I was like, oh, they posted it on YouTube. I know it comes on Cartoon Network, but I was surprised to see that the episodes were posted on YouTube. And there looks like there's about 6 episodes posted on YouTube, and the episodes themselves are about 10 to 11 minutes long. So they're really bite-sized, easy to digest. And the whole premise of it is the Justice League comes together to do what they normally do, which is just fight kind of like bad guys that are almost not necessarily just the ones on planet, but the ones that are within the galaxy too. And what I kind of liked about it is that in the title of the show where it says action, that's pretty much what it is. You got 10 to 11 minutes to tell a story. So the story in and of itself is not much. They just introduce you to a villain and what his motives are, and then the league comes in. But it's not particularly the entire league. It's kind of almost like a feature kind of setup where you might have Batman and Superman in the episode, and then the main point of view or main person that's taking point in the episode could be someone like Firestorm, or it could be Flash, or it could be Swamp Thing. And so it's kind of cool because you get to see these characters that people don't necessarily get to see front and center all the time. And what I really liked about it is one of the episodes that I saw, that was the one with Firestorm. I really was excited about it because it really showed his power set in a way that they don't show on Legends of Tomorrow. Legends of Tomorrow, they just show him shooting blasts of fire, which is the least thing that he can do, because his actual power set is the ability to control matter on a molecular level. So he's pretty powerful. He could turn, like, a TV into a missile or whatever he wanted to do. He could do anything pretty much because he can control it at a molecular level. So they really highlight that aspect of his abilities and power in that episode that I saw. Same thing with Swamp Thing. They show him and he's fighting against Solomon Grundy. And it's like you also see Constantine in that episode, and Satana. And so it's really cool that they're highlighting characters that you don't always get to see, along with the addition of the characters that like Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman. And even Kevin Conroy is still doing the voice of Batman. Someone else is doing Superman and Wonder Woman that I didn't recognize. But Mark Hamill was in as also as a Joker. And so it was really cool. There was an episode even that had Lobo in it. So I would suggest watching it. It's very light. It's not something that's, I wouldn't say it's on the level of being like really kiddie in the sense of how Teen Titans is. It's a little bit above that. But if I had to put it in a age range, I would say it's maybe between 8 and 13. But it's still, I think even me watching it, I could still kind of appreciate it on its own merits, even at that level. It's not completely jokey and fluffy, but it's just enough of it there to where you can kind of tolerate it. And like I said, 10 to 11 minutes, it's not that long. So I really liked it.
That sounds pretty cool, actually.
Yeah, check it out.
Yeah, I will. No, I like that it highlights all the different, I would say, I'm trying to phrase this correctly, I would say lesser known superheroes within the DC comic universe. Like, I mean, I think they're cool, but they're not the main ones that people actually really, like, I don't know, that everybody's really familiar with. So that's awesome. I'm actually kind of excited about that. Yeah, I'm gonna check that one out.
Cool. Well, before we talk about box office numbers and then moving on to trailers, I'm curious. Trailers should get its own show.
This week, trailers deserves its own show. The amount of trailers that were released this week was absolutely ad nauseumly ridiculous. But at the same time, they were really good trailers. So,
but first, I'm curious to ask Yasha. Did you? So, are you all caught up with Westworld? Did you watch the last episode?
Oh, you're giddy.
Nope.
You did?
I have not.
Oh,
not yet.
Man, I'm dying to know what you thought.
Dude, I've been in the process of moving. So
no. You don't have to make excuses. I'm just.
I'm making excuses. I'm just coming up with them. By the way, have you finished all of the Netflix Marvel shows already, or are we still working on those?
Dude, it's not like that. I'm just curious to know what you thought.
I'm just saying, David. I don't need your shit.
So Westworld
escalated really fast.
Yeah, it did.
Right? Oh my God! Like, I'm just curious because even after episode 9, you still seems kind of like not into it.
You know what? That's the truth, man. There was a couple of episodes. The last episode I watched where they reviled and spoiler.
I was gonna say don't.
But I want to say spoilers for. I'm gonna say it. But when they revealed somebody was a robot, like, I just don't find the storyline really fluid. Like, it jumps all over the place. Like, at one point somebody's dead, and then all of a sudden we're just supposed to accept that she's the person, the hosts have been regenerated already, and just repaired and put back in the story. And when are they removing people and putting people back in? I don't understand how everybody is so afraid of what's her name? The woman's character who plays the head of the brothel.
Maeve.
Mauve?
Maeve. Yeah,
Maeve?
thank you, Maeve. Like they're absolutely terrified of her. Like I'm just having a really hard time buying why they would be so afraid of her. Like nobody's communicating with each other for this place to be such a corporate event and whatnot. Now, don't get me wrong. Some of the hooks that they have done, they got me interested, but I'm not there yet, man. It's like, and when I finally do get through the past couple of episodes or finally get to them, if it's still not there, I'm going to probably stop watching. Like, I just don't find it that entertaining. It just jumps all over the place too much for me. I just think at some point it just gets stupid.
All right.
So, but this week was the season ender, or is it a mid-season?
No, it's season ender.
Oh, okay.
Tonight is the season ender, right?
No, it was last weekend.
Okay, it was last week. Okay, so I guess I'm one episode behind.
Yeah.
So I just need to catch up on that.
And yeah, it was a 90-minute episode.
Okay. It's so all over the place for me, David. Like I want to like it because I think the talent that they have in it is amazing. Like Anthony Hopkins, I like James Martin, Danny Newton, Ed Harris, Jeffrey Wright is phenomenal. There was a scene in the first episode that Evan Rachel Wood did that blew me away. I mean, it was beautiful. Is the only way I can describe it. It was just fantastic. It was perfect for her, and it showed the actual gravity of these, the control that these robots or these hosts that they're supposed to have, and it was fantastic. It was a fantastic scene. I have not really had that connection since that episode. It's just kind of watching them try and unfold the story and finally revealing something like, oh, okay, I'm in. And then it just kind of lost me again. I'm just like, no, this is boring and stupid.
Fair enough.
Let me say this. I will be very curious to hear what you think after you've seen the season finale. And I will say there is a podcast I've been listening to that's called Decoding Westworld. And it's one of the guys who does the Slash Film Cast. He does this podcast for the Westworld. And I would listen to it after every episode that I watched. And I got to say, it helps to enhance and also explain things in a way that you're like, yeah, I had a question about that. And they kind of go into it and you're like, oh, okay, now I see what's going on. But at the same time, as much as I like that, next season, I almost feel like I won't listen to the podcast because the co-host on there, her name's, I think, Joanna, I forget her last name, but she was so good at predicting what was going to happen within the series that when it actually happened, I already knew it was going to happen because she was so point on with figuring out what the show was about. So now it's like, man, it's cool because it's not like she's spoiling it because she's guessing, she's theorizing, but to be so good at it, once you see it, it pulls you away from the reveal just enough to where it's not as shocking or surprising as you'd want it to be. So now I feel like I want to go into season 2 sort of just with my own viewpoint of it without having to get that extra addition of being explained certain things. And it might make the series different for me because I won't understand exactly some things that are going on. But I think it might make for a better viewing experience when those shocks do come along.
But at the same time, Bobby, like, don't you think, like, for the everyday American, they shouldn't have to listen to a podcast to get things explained to them, decoding Westworld?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, because, I mean, I sit there and I think I'm, in regards to viewing and entertainment, I feel like I'm a little bit more than the average American just because I do watch just about anything. And, we dissect everything and talk about everything and stuff like that. I should be able to watch this and be like, dude, this is awesome. This is really engaging. I'm super into this and whatnot, but not find loopholes and plot holes and, trouble with, the consistency of the writing and, the actors. And, it just seems like it's jumping from scene to scene to, not really being one convoluted mess. I shouldn't have to listen to a podcast and seek out a podcast to have like everything explained to me as like, oh yeah, this is what this is going on and this is what this means, and having somebody predict something, because we already throw sometimes our own predictions into the show, so having to throw a prediction into like, even more, or listening to somebody else predict about it and then have them be right would just annoy me.
Yeah, no, I totally get that, and you're right in that sense that you shouldn't have to. Although I will say that it seems as though Westworld, by complete intention, is doing that in a way that makes you not feel like you understand exactly what's going on, unless you're one of those guys that are paying super close attention and going over it with a fine tooth comb, like people did for Lost, and trying to figure out different things. But that's why I'm really curious for you to watch, and I think that David probably echoes this, to watch the season finale to see how you feel after that.
Yeah, because I agree with you, Yasha. I don't necessarily think you shouldn't have to like seek out additional information outside of the actual viewing experience to enjoy a show. And that's how I kind of felt the first half of the season. I think I said so right here on this podcast that I was kind of like, I'm still not sure what to think of this. Like, I enjoyed the pilot, but now I'm kind of like, the pacing's kind of weird, and I know it's definitely mysterious, but I'm not sure what to think about how the structure of the pacing of the show. And it was probably about halfway through the season. I don't know the particular episode number that I definitely locked in, and probably the second half of the season altogether, I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I didn't listen to a podcast, but I definitely, reading through film news, reading through Reddit, it was hard to avoid a lot of fan theories. If there's a show that's had a crap ton of fan theories out there, it's Westworld. And there's a reason why, and it's interesting how dead on a lot of those theories ended up being. And so, yeah, I even though I didn't listen to a podcast, I felt like I was kind of in the same boat as you, Bobby, where, things would happen and I was like, yep, that's it. And my dad watches the show and he doesn't read anything like this on the internet about a show. And I threw one of the big theories out there to him, like before that season finale, because he hadn't heard it before. And he looked at me like, what? And I was just like, I'm just saying it's popular. And when you look at it, kind of makes sense. And sure enough, once it was finally revealed, he came back to me like, that person must have known somebody who knew something. There's no way. It was so perfect. And I'm like, people on the internet, they study shit, and it's
yes, they do.
And it's people figure it out, and they did. And I don't know. I'd be curious to look at opinion ratings of older age groups compared to younger age groups on this show, because I feel like the viewing experience, the big fan base, is probably a much younger audience who, even though they don't necessarily mean to seek out like additional information on the show, like they're just the kind of group that reads through Reddit and they're on the internet, and they do experience a show not just by watching it, but also by talking about it with a bunch of other people on the internet afterwards. And that's kind of like you listening to a podcast. So I don't know. I loved it in the end, even though, like I said, I was kind of questioning it at first. I would easily say it's the best show on TV right now. I love it quite a bit. So I was thrilled with the finale. It went farther than I expected the first season to go. Knowing what we've heard, which I believe is that there's a plan for 5 seasons if they can get there. And knowing that, I was like, wow, I didn't expect this first season to move along as much as it did. I am cliche curious to know what is going to happen next season, and it's going to be a ways away. Probably be about a year from now till we get a second season. So I'm excited.
And I find it so fascinating how there was that whole thing about how they stopped production for a while, and then they kind of had to write stories and figure out where this whole thing was going, because you could feel within the season where that happened, even if you didn't know it, because after that point, answers started coming like rapid fire and his story started moving a lot quicker.
Yeah.
And so it was like, they really kind of turned things around in that sense, and possibly had to make some sort of adjustments to not only story, but to characters as well. And so it sort of plays out throughout that season. And I really enjoyed it just like you. And it's told in such a way that if it wasn't getting a second season, I'd be pretty happy with the one season that we would have gotten from it.
Yeah,
But
I would agree with
knowing
that.
it's coming back,
Yeah.
knowing that it's coming back, it's got me excited and thinking about the possibilities for other things and some other questions I have that aren't answered just yet.
And it's a first season that I will definitely be rewatching. Like
yeah.
from beginning to end, probably pretty soon, you know, maybe after I get done binging all these movies I have to binge. But yeah, I now, having experienced it once and knowing what I know now, I definitely am going to go back and rewatch the entire thing and kind of catch a lot of things that I'm sure I missed and maybe comprehend a lot of things now that I was completely confused by the first time around. So I'm excited to rewatch it. That'll definitely be it.
And the score is so good too.
The score is amazingly good. And the music the music that is picked to play in Westworld, it's very interesting choices. Yeah, that's all I'll say. It's good. Very happy with Westworld. But so if you haven't seen it, I recommend it. It's first season's one and done. We've got 10 episodes, and then season 2 is coming. It's been renewed, but it sounds like it probably won't be next fall. It'll probably be about a year from now, I bet, till we see a second season. Moving on to box office numbers. What do we got in the box office this week? Moana, still at number 1, with 18.8 million. In its third week in release. Office Christmas Party in number 2, just behind Moana at 17.5. Then we've got Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them at number 3, Arrival at number 4, and Doctor Strange at number 5. Pretty slow week in the box office.
Yeah.
Pretty slow.
It was not a very large release week.
No. I would have expected Office Christmas Party to do better than that.
Since it was,
I don't
really
know what
kind of the
predictions
major
were. I
one.
hadn't read, but
Did Miss
I think it lined up to what I don't know if it exactly lined up to what they were hoping for, but it made 18 million on a $45 million budget. So I don't think that they're too upset with it.
yeah.
Right.
And it was rated R. So
All right.
True.
All right. So we've got some trailers to talk about. Let's just jump right into the big one.
Let's get it in, Bobby. Go ahead.
Yeah.
what's the big one?
Just let Bobby go.
What's the big one? There's so many big ones. Spider-Man,
Exactly, that's
Spider-Man
what I'm
Homecoming got our first trailer this week. We got 2 trailers actually, a U.S. quote unquote trailer and an international trailer. What are those premiered on Jimmy Kimmel? I don't know, one night this week. I forget when that was. And
Thursday.
yeah, right. Thursday.
Yeah, because it's in the week for them. So yeah, Thursday night.
Right. And what did you guys think? Bobby, let's go to you first. You're a big Spider-Man fan.
Yeah.
You, of course, with me and Yasha, we saw some Spider-Man footage back in Hall H this summer. And this is our first look at it since then. How many times have you watched the trailer?
I lost count somewhere around 20 or so. I don't know. It's been a lot.
I'm curious, are you really exaggerating? You really think you watched it 20 times?
Yeah, because I don't just watch it pure. Because, I've told you guys, and I've said it on here many a times, I love the excitement of other people watching something. So I'll watch those reaction videos. Yeah. So I'm kind of watching it as that as well. So, but I've watched it quite a few times. And obviously, from what we had saw at Comic-Con, this was an extension of that in a way that played off the aspects of showing that this is a kid and he is in high school, and so you're going to get that vibe of that in this movie. And I thought the trailer did such a really good job of giving you all the aspects of what you can kind of come to expect from this film, because it starts off showing Spider-Man and him being quippy the way he should be, like how he is in the comics. Then it moves in and shows Peter Parker's life as he's in high school and dealing with that everyday school life that we are all familiar with. Then it goes into showing you pieces of what the villain's like and what kind of threat he has to go up against in this particular film. And it also shows you that he is part of the MCU by showing Iron Man in there and Tony Stark, and showing that mentorship that he has with Peter Parker. And so I think that as a first trailer, it works so well to really set people up for what they're going to be in store for when this movie comes out. And I'm really excited after seeing the trailer. July cannot get here fast enough, and I just am looking forward to. I mean, maybe the second trailer will show a little bit more of the plot and story, but I felt like within this one, it did just enough to make me excited and look forward to the movie more so than I already was.
Very cool. Very cool. Michelle, what'd you think?
I really liked it. I enjoyed it a lot. I've watched both the U.S. version and the international one, and I've actually watched both of them twice. And I think I could safely say I actually think I prefer the international trailer, which is interesting. I know. I'm kind of surprised by that option as well. I know. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to let you down. Sorry. Go USA. No, but yeah, I mean, I'm excited. It's silly, but honestly, just seeing Spider-Man in the MCU and like just seeing him with Tony and seeing him with Iron Man just makes me really happy. I just feel like it's been such a long time coming. I feel like this is the Spider-Man that we've been really waiting for, and I think they're gonna deliver well on this. And I'm very happy with what I'm seeing. Like Bobby said, like they really set up the fact that he is a true high schooler. Like, you know, and he's battling the I want to be an adult right now and I want to do things and I want to save the world, and Tony's going, slow down, you were literally still in high school. Like there's still so much ahead of you. You need to take it back. And I think, I don't know, I love that. I love seeing that, and I don't know, it looks good. It makes me giddy, and it just makes me happy seeing him as part of the family. I'm just like, yes, the gang's all getting together. Just, I don't know. And I wish I could vocalize more, but honestly, it just, I'm happy. I'm very happy with it. I like the way they're setting it all up. It's all good. It's also very, very, very good.
Yasha, your thoughts?
I've watched it a few times actually myself now, and I think Bobby said it best too. It's just like, you know, he was quippy like he should be. He was funny. It was lighthearted, and Michelle touched on it too. The fact that it's, you know, in the Marvel universe, you know that because Tony's there. I mean, it looks like a lot of fun. Like they finally got it right. Like it feels like it's going to be very, very true to how the character should be, and I'm really looking forward to it. I'm just looking forward to seeing this movie and seeing a character more of what we saw from Civil War, because I thought he was fantastic in Civil War. I'm just looking forward to it. This movie looks like it's going to be so much fun. Like it just looks like it's going to be so much fun. And Michael Keaton, come on,
Right?
like the guy is an amazing actor, and he's in there, and you just, I mean, I felt chills when he turned and, you know, he's threatening. Like he looks like he's just going to be a badass. And I don't want to jinx it, but it's like if they don't kill him off, then we could get like a Sinister Six type of, you know, setup going on into the next movie, which is what they wanted to do with the last one. So, I mean, I can't be the only person that's thought of that. So,
Right.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm really hoping that this is where this is headed. This is going to, you know, really be a nice, strong foundation for a new Spider-Man for like at least 3 to maybe 5 films, and you know, where he can kind of pull away from having to have these other Marvel characters like Iron Man in the movie. Not to say that I wouldn't want it, but I know that that's not a realistic, you know, thing. And I think it's just going to be a really nice foundation to set up for a lot of Spider-Man stories that I feel like we should have been able to have, and maybe just didn't get a chance to get from some of the other directors that worked on these films.
Yeah, I of course saw both trailers as well. I don't think I've watched as much as Bobby, but I've watched it a couple times, and yeah, it looks good. What else is there to say about it? I mean, I've said before, I don't come from a Spider-Man background. I'm not the guy who has read a lot of Spider-Man as a kid or anything like that, but Spider-Man's cool. I like Spider-Man, and yeah, this looks good. I've also said that in Civil War, he stole the show for me. If it hadn't been for him being in Civil War, I really don't know what I would have thought of that movie. And yeah, I'm excited. I love the stuff we saw at Comic-Con. This looks good. I definitely think the U.S. cut of the trailer is a much better cut than the international, personally. But yeah, it looks good. The only thing I would say about the trailer, and let me complete my thought on this, is you see a lot of Iron Man's Tony Stark in this, and I get that that's, an on-purpose thing probably to include him a lot in this trailer. I think as a way of, hey, everybody who is burned out on Spider-Man and we've fucked up Spider-Man maybe so much, in your opinion, that we want to make sure you understand that this is a new Spider-Man that's part of the big universe, Marvel family. But because it seems like a lot of Iron Man, and it makes me slightly worried that there'll be, in my opinion, too much Iron Man in the movie. But I have a feeling that won't be the case, and I really hope it's not the case, because I really want this to be a Spider-Man movie. And hey, don't get me wrong, I like Iron Man as much as the next guy. But if you were just watching this one trailer, you would maybe get the impression, man, this is a Spider-Man Iron Man film almost. Like, he's in this trailer a lot. And I don't know. That's the only thing about it that I'd be like, it seems like a bit much Tony Stark. But
I getcha. The other thing I was going to mention was, and I think I mentioned this after Civil War, but honest to goodness, I love his costume. I love the throwback to the old 70s cartoon that we had. Like, there's just little things to it. I'm just like, yes. Like, obviously the eyes, obviously, but I don't know. Even right now, I'm looking at the still. And just looking at his costume, there's an age. It's fresh, but at the same time, there's an age to it. There's just an older dimension to it that I really like. It's a throwback to the old comics. It's a throwback to the old cartoon. For me, it's really kind of refreshing to see. It's like they really pulled in the old, but also renewed it at the same time. And I know it's really kind of silly to be so oh, about the the costume. But honestly, there's just a look about him in this costume, and for me, it makes me harken back to my childhood, and I'm just like, yes, this is Spider-Man for me. So yeah.
No, I agree. I agree with you 100% too.
So going to David's point, I can understand what you were saying, but I guess I didn't feel like it was too much Tony Stark, other than to say that it's really trying to establish the fact that this isn't just another reboot, and that you are getting that same character that you saw in Civil War. And it's Marvel, so I trust that they know that people want to see a Spider-Man movie, but just will absolutely include some of the MCU there, just to make sure people can understand that, hey, we're all part of the same family now. And some eagle-eyed viewers did notice that, and I think one of the scenes with Tony Stark talking to Peter Parker, that he looked hurt. So the prevailing thought is that this probably, when you see Tony Stark, at least in one of those scenes, takes place fairly recently after the events of Civil War, which makes sense. So I could totally see him being towards the beginning of the film. And I even got that sense too when he's in the limousine with Peter Parker. And I think this was in the international version when Peter was like, I get to keep the suit. And then Tony's like, well, yeah, it doesn't fit me. So that means to me, it's like, it is like really quite right after Civil War, because he's happy about having that suit and being able to keep it. So I think that they'll use him sparingly, but just enough to where people can get excited about it.
And I completely agree with you. Yeah, I'm completely recognizing that, most likely definitely almost that, I'm going to enjoy this. It's going to be mostly a Spider-Man film, and he probably will be used pretty sparingly. But I'm just saying, if you were to just look at this trailer and maybe you never see anything else, you would probably get the impression, man, I'm seeing a movie with a lot of Iron Man in it, and I don't expect that to be the case at all, but I would just saying too that I hope that's not the case, because I want him to have his own film.
Yeah.
I like Iron Man. Iron Man's great, but come on.
Right.
But,
well, we only get Iron Man movies throughout seeing the other movies at this point.
Yes, at this point, exactly. So yeah, I'll take it. I like Iron Man. It's fun. Just not the whole film. So yeah, Spider-Man: Homecoming coming up this summer, July 7th. Moving on to our next trailer. What's next? Why not we talk about the War for the Planet of the Apes? We got a trailer for that this week. I don't know. I'll go first. Why not? I have liked the first two films quite a bit. I remember being thoroughly surprised by the first movie, how much I enjoyed it. And the second movie was quite good as well. And what is there to say? This looks good. I'm still excited to see this. I hadn't really been paying attention to production. I didn't realize Woody Harrelson was in this. When I was watching the trailer, that first shot of him, I was like, "That Woody? I wouldn't have expected him to be in this kind of role, but that's cool. Okay." But yeah, it looks like more good stuff from this franchise, and that's all I've got to say about it. I'm excited.
I had that exact same reaction. I haven't really kept up with production or who was in this or whatever. Yeah. And I'm watching it. I'm like, is that who I think that...
He turns his head. He's got all that face paint on. And you're like, what the... Is that
Woody?
It's kind of this,
underneath all the mud. Yeah, that's Woody. How about that? I was pleasantly surprised by that, actually.
Right.
And, and the downside is I actually haven't seen the second one, and I want to see the second one.
Oh, that's right.
I know. I'm so weird. And... I enjoyed the first film, and that's why I'm surprised. I'm surprised at myself that I have not seen the second film. I really want to see the second film, and I say this knowing that in the next at least 3 to 4 weeks, that's probably not going to happen because
no rush. You got some time.
Will also be cramming in my end of semester, movies. But this trailer looks great. Honestly, it looks fantastic. Like I feel like this is really. It's pulling in the whole storyline with the Planet of the Apes situation that's happening, and it looks good. It really looks good. I'm looking forward to this, and I really need to see the second one so I can fully appreciate it. But yeah, no, I'm down with this.
Yasha, your thoughts?
I'm psyched. I'm with you, David and Michelle, both. I for whatever reason missed that Woody was in the movie. I don't know how I did, but I did. And when I saw that he was in it, I was even more excited to go see it because I'm a fan. I like his stuff. I'll give him a shot when he comes out in something. And I'm excited to see this. I've been impressed with the previous two movies. They've been really, really good. I'm looking forward to seeing what this one does as well. So I can't wait. I'm really looking forward to it.
Bobby
so bring it on.
So for me, I think that the Planet of the Apes, the first movie, it didn't surprise me. I was already looking forward to it, and I was hoping and had expectations that it was going to be good, and it lived up to it. The second one, I really enjoyed a lot as well. I mean, it seemed like they really seemed to elevate the effects and the motion capture of Caesar every movie, and all of the apes in general. Every single movie, it just gets better and better, and that continues with this one as well. And if this one ends up being as good as I'm hoping and thinking it will be, I feel like this will be one of those very few trilogies that'll rank in my top 10 of best trilogies of all time.
Solid trilogy,
yeah. It's just like for this, it's weird because that being said, this trailer in and of itself, it was decent, but it didn't get me hyped and overly excited to see it. And I think that's by design. They're just showing you just enough to say, hey, there's a new Apes movie, and this is kind of the setup for it. And I feel like a lot of the great moments and a lot of the really compelling elements will be once you sit down and watch it. So the actual trailer in and of itself did its job for me. It made me say, okay, here's the new Apes, here's the new setup, and we're going to go with that. Right. But in and of itself, the trailer didn't do too many over-the-top action beats or anything specifically that really got me pumped for it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
To quickly piggyback on what you were saying about the stop motion capture, I'm looking at the still of Caesar, and it's interesting to look at his face in this because you can see it's just the linear movement of the time passing and how much time has actually gone on, as well as him being the leader of this movement in this group. And you can see it's aged him in such a way. And it's just fascinating to see because, I mean, and again, I didn't see the second film. I fully admit this. But in the first film, he's really young, you know, he's a young ape for the most part. And so looking at this, it's like, wow, there's quite a change in his face and his facial structure and his age, and it shows. And I think it's good. I think they were paying a lot of attention to this. They're not just going, oh, we're just going to throw an ape photo up. We're just going to make this ape go on through a series of films, and we're not going to slowly age him or quickly age him for that matter. You know, like a president, like ages, you know, like 10 times faster when they're in a presidency. But like, it's like I'm looking at this, I'm like, wow, yeah, you can definitely see Caesar has gone through some changes physically, and I don't know. It's refreshing to see that they've really put that effort in, and it's nice.
Right. I just want to say real quick too before we move on that to anyone listening who hasn't seen these movies and hasn't really had an interest in them, you know, I talked to a friend this week who hasn't seen them. We had watched the trailer together, and he admitted he's like he hasn't seen the movies, and he was saying that he's like I was never a Planet of the Apes fan, and I told him, I'm like, look, dude, I completely understand, because before these movies I really couldn't care less about Planet of the Apes. It was just never my thing. And I told him, I'm like, I get what you're saying, but I saw that first film and I was like, holy shit, like that was way better than I thought it was going to be. And the second film was just as good. And so that's what I said. I'm like, I think I'm probably was in the same boat as you, but just trust me, check them out. So I think anyone listening who still hasn't seen these movies and is just in that same boat where they're like, the whole Planet of the Apes concept is kind of silly to me and I really have no desire, like you might be surprised by these. These are quite good, because I was in the same boat. I also didn't really care about this franchise before I saw them.
It's a shame we don't have a camera up, because I'm sitting here nodding going, yes, I really did not give two shits about the original series of Planet Apes or the remake that Mark Wahlberg did. Like, they're not, it's just not my cup of tea. And I watched that first film and I was like, this is good. Like, it's a well done film and it's a well done story. Like, it's good and I enjoyed it. And again, it's silly that I haven't seen the second one, but I do want to see it, and it will happen before this third one because it's good. And things that I would have never in a million years have thought I would said, oh, the Planet of the Apes series is quite good and entertaining. Yeah. Things I would never, but I'm surprised at myself.
Yeah.
I love those 70s versions of those movies. I mean, that's what I knew growing up. And for me, to this day, if one of those movies are on TV, I'll sit down and watch it because I love them so much. And obviously that Mark Wahlberg one didn't hit the spot. So that's why I was looking forward to the new one when it came out, and was happy with what they did with it. So for me, this has been like just having the realization of all the things that they couldn't have done back when the movies originally came out, to being able to do it in a way now that makes sense and looks good and it feels really grounded, and seeing that development has just been really, really great. And so I'm absolutely looking forward to it. The only thing that I'm not looking forward to is the fact that whoever schedules these movies is insane, because you have Spider-Man coming out on 7/7/17, and then the next week for the Planet of the Apes comes out. It's like, really? You couldn't give a little breathing room in there? It's like,
I noticed that too.
That's tight.
It's insane.
So yeah. What are the Planet of the Apes coming on July 14th? It's from director Matt Reeves, who also directed the second film, and he also directed Cloverfield, I believe. Mm-hmm. It looks like we're all pretty happy with it. Moving on to other trailers, though. Transformers: The Last Night got a trailer this week. What is this, the fifth movie? I don't even know at this point.
Yeah. Man, I feel like our conversation just took a turn.
You know, you gotta change things up a bit, man. You gotta have highs and lows. You know, you gotta make things interesting.
And I'm looking at the rest of the trailers we're gonna look at, and I'm like, oh, this conversation's done for me. I can call it a night.
Come on.
I can call it a night now.
Transformers: The Last Night, also directed by Michael Bay, like all of these films have been. I like how when you're on IMDb, it says plot is unknown. Does it really need to have a plot?
I didn't realize they had a plot.
Like, I don't think I've ever seen it typed in IMDb before.
Really?
Plot is unknown.
It should just say plot. Who cares?
They've been there. They've been there. I've seen it before, but it's usually like, oh, this movie coming out 2021, starring this person, this person.
Right.
Like literally, like right after they've signed the people to be in the movie,
Right.
and they're like, oh, we're not really sure what it's going to be about yet, but
Right.
it's going
Right.
to be there.
The release date is 3 years from now, not a few months from
Yeah.
now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's still unknown.
So
how
we got
about that
Mark
trailer?
Wahlberg back in this. We got Anthony Hopkins in this one. John Goodman, Stanley Tucci. A few people in here.
How much money did they give Sir Anthony Hopkins to get in this
seriously.
film? How much money
Seriously.
threw down there?
Yeah.
I would have, to be a fly on the wall in that meeting. Damn.
Yeah.
Sorry. Continue.
So yeah, I will say. I mean, I've said before, I don't really care about these movies. I have seen them all. I don't know why, but I have. Yeah. Hey, I do a podcast on movies, and I see movies. It's crazy.
Amen, brother.
I mean, hey, even if it's something that's bad, I like to be able to talk about it. So I see it, and I've seen them. And will I see this one for the sake of the podcast? I probably will.
We're a better man than I, Gunga Din.
So yeah, I think Yasha, you're in the same boat. You'll probably see it with me, right?
Yeah, man, I'm dedicated. I will go with the intent to review this film for the show, and
fun to
I
rip
may even
movies
write
apart.
something up on it. If I get the opportunity, I may even write something up about it.
Yeah.
My hopes are not very high. I will probably rip it to shreds. But yeah, I mean, I'll go for the podcast, but like I watched that trailer and I literally just thought to myself, it's like, oh man, what the fuck? It's just like, it was so bad and just such a convoluted mess of CGI, just mindless blowing nonsense up. And just, I can already see just all the panning shots and the action and the blowing. I'm just, God, make it stop. Like, it's just painful. It was just painful. And I'm not to say that some of the other movies, I'm not going to even say like live. Like there's, I've enjoyed some of them. Like, well, one of them. Yeah, one of them. But I'm just like, this is just getting bad at this point. Like, this is horrible.
How many slow-mos were there? Did anybody count in this trailer? How many times they slow? Because
Oh,
in the movie they're going to slow down like 20 times. There's going to have
20.
There's going to be
The whole
action
movie's in
scenes.
slow-mo.
And they're just going to slow.
We need it slower.
I mean, yeah, I've never liked the design of the Transformers. I don't like the way they look. There's nothing about the franchise I've ever cared for. I wouldn't say there's not. I don't know. Whichever. I don't know. I don't even remember which movie it was. I want to say maybe it was the third one with the big battle in Chicago.
Sure.
And I will say that
Sure.
that film.
I mean, I blocked out the second, third.
the second half of that film. It was probably the best Transformers experience I had. It was
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I remember I saw it in a large format screen, and maybe it was even in 3D, and it was the one where you had the para-flyer guys flying around through the city and shit, and that battle scene worked for me. That's the only thing about this franchise so far that has really worked for me. The first half of that movie, by the way, I was wanting to kill myself. It was so bad. But once we finally got to that battle, I was like, you know what? This works. Michael Bay excels here, and that's about it. But all the other humor he tries to throw in.
Yeah,
It was the one with Leonard Nimoy did the voice of the one.
Yeah.
But that's it for me. I haven't really cared for any of it, and but I don't know. Do I want to give this franchise my money? No, but and will I definitely see it? I don't know, but most likely if I do, it'd just be so I could say, hey, by the way, everybody, it sucks just as much as we expected. So yeah, Bobby, I know you don't plan on seeing it.
No, I do not. Look, I like the first Transformers movie. I was a huge fan of Transformers just in general growing up. I mean, for me, it was like Transformers was at the top, and then you had something like Thundercats, and then maybe like G.I. Joe, and then probably He-Man or something like that. So Transformers, I was all about it growing up, and I just could not wait to see a film for this franchise. Been wanting it for most of my young life and into adulthood. So when the first movie came about, it was cool just seeing it realized on screen. There was things I didn't like about it, but I kind of mostly forgave it just because I got to actually see this living kind of embodiment of this cartoon that I enjoyed growing up.
Right.
The second movie came around and it was like, that was garbage. And it was like, okay, you fooled me on that one. You got me. I admit you got me on this one. Then the next one came, the third one. There was parts of it that was decent, but then it was like, all right, you fool me once, shame on me. Then you fool me twice, shame on you. Then the next one came with Mark Wahlberg, and it's like, you fool me again, F you. I'm done. I'm not doing it anymore. I cannot do it anymore. So to that end, I couldn't tell you what this trailer is about because I didn't even watch it.
I haven't even seen it.
Even I watched it. Jesus.
Man.
Wow.
You feeling okay, man? I mean, I know you hate this, but come on.
I'm sure it's different because like how the connection I have to it. So it's like if something you really, truly loved was being mistreated, you just wouldn't want to see any part of it because it just would make you feel depressed. And so it's like, I feel like with this series, I've written it off. I will watch the trailer when it's on in front of Rogue One. I'm sure it'll be there. So I'll see it then, but that's about it for it.
Right.
Wow.
All right.
Shit, even I watched it and I thought it was horrific, but I mean, Jesus.
Yeah. It's pretty bad. June 23rd for anyone who cares. And that'll be an amazing thing. It'll make a crap ton of money. And I mean, the trailer had a crap ton of views in the first 24 hours. And yeah.
Let's talk about another movie I'm not going to care about.
Let's move on to Baywatch. Baywatch, we got our first teaser trailer for. This film is starring Dwayne Johnson, Alexandra Daddario, Zac Efron, I don't know, a few other people. Hey, it's Baywatch. It's a reboot of the Baywatch TV show. I mean, that's what there is to say about it. Yeah.
But campier.
What, the what?
I said, but campier.
But campier, yes. For those of you excited to see Zac Efron without a shirt on, you will probably be very happy to watch him. It's about what you would expect. It's Baywatch. I don't know what else to say about it. I don't know. I think part of me was like, it's got Dwayne Johnson in it and, some other actors. Okay, cool. This could be cool. And I don't know. I watched it and I was like, oh, all right. I don't know what I was expecting, but I thought I was expecting something that would look more fun, and it doesn't look that fun to me. It just looks kind of stupid. So
it looks silly and predictable, and I mean, you definitely can't go into this with any sort of an expectation. But okay, here it is. I feel like I'm going to church right now. I actually used to kind of watch Baywatch. The show when I was younger. God knows why, but I did.
I know I watched it.
Well, I know why most.
I don't know why you watched it, but
I know why most males in your age group bracket / watch this TV show. I totally get that. I don't know why I watched it, but I did. And so I feel like this show is gonna have like little moments of like homage to the show, but the movie itself is just it's silliness. It's just pure fun, and honestly, like I kind of want to see this just because I want to see The Rock and Zac Efron, goof around and goof off with each other basically on screen. That's really kind of all I want to see this film for. I'm not going to see this film for the plot. I'm not going to see this film really for the quote unquote fantastic jokes they're gonna have. It's like I think I'm just gonna see it just on a day where I'm like, I just need something where I don't have to think at all. I'm just gonna go visually see Zac Efron without his shirt and watch him and The Rock do stupid little pally things and poke fun at each other. Yeah, that sounds great, and that's exactly what this movie is gonna be. It's nothing more and nothing less.
Anybody else got any thoughts on this one?
I'm just looking forward to it. I mean, it looks silly and it looks funny and it looks, corny and everything that Michelle just said. And yeah, I'm going to watch it. I'll give it a shot. It looks funny.
You know what would be fun is to develop a drinking game before we go to it, and you get your alcohol and you go in there.
Jesus.
It'd be fun, right? No? Okay.
I don't know.
How many times?
It sounds dangerous. Is
How
what
many
it
times
does.
do they slow down the slow-mo for the boobs, for the running sequences? Take a shot.
Yeah, you'd probably get pretty drunk.
I enjoyed the trailer. It was exactly what I was expecting it to be, and I laughed in parts of the trailer. So, it to me looks like it's just as what you guys have said. It's not something. I mean, it's Baywatch. You can't really go in there expecting too much, and it looks like it'll deliver on the premise that it has. And I guess I was sort of expecting something in tone in the same sort of manner that you got with 21 Jump Street with Channing Tatum. And so I think that's in Jonah Hill. So I feel like that's kind of like the tone that I'll get watching Baywatch. And I'm completely fine with that. And since I did laugh in the trailer, I feel like I'll probably enjoy the movie if it keeps up that tone.
All right, cool. May 19th. That's when we get Baywatch. Moving on. We got a couple more. We're going to run through these more quickly as we're running out of time. But we got The Mummy. Which I believe that trailer dropped like right after we finished recording last weekend.
Like 10 minutes later.
We thought it was going to be before we started, and it didn't happen. But this one's directed by Alex Kurtzman, starring Tom Cruise, of course. And we talked about a little bit about the teaser for the teaser last week, but now we really got a teaser trailer. Michelle, I'm going to let you start real quick. I know you're a big fan of the Monster franchise, so your thoughts on this?
My thoughts on viewing this was I can't remember how many times I've rolled my eyes that much, and I'm really sad and disappointed, quite honestly. My heart is it sunk. It sunk quite hard, quite fast, very quickly as watching
Jesus,
this.
Michelle.
Y'all should sound so depressed by the idea of Michelle's hatred for it. Not quite.
I mean,
hatred,
not hatred. I think I'm just I'm saddened for the franchise. I feel like I was hoping this was going to be a large boot, and after watching this trailer, my heart sank. It's exactly what I was saying last week. It's extremely exaggeratedly overly CGI'd. It looks like, and it's funny, it looks like Mission Impossible with a mummy thrown into it, and I can't. No, I'm kind of depressed by this one. It makes me sad. That's really all I gotta say about this one.
Yasha?
Oh man. Well, I'm looking forward to it. I didn't feel any of what Michelle did. I'm interested, but after listening to it, it's like, yeah, I guess it does kind of look like the Mission Impossible with a mummy aspect thrown into it. But I'm still interested. I'm going to give it a shot. I'm going to go in there with open arms and just kind of embrace whatever work that they did on this film. And I hope that I hope it delivers. I hope it delivers because I like Tom Cruise and I like it when he does good stuff. So I'm hoping that it's better than I'm feeling right now after listening to Michelle's description.
I'm sorry. It's just...
Bobby, your thoughts?
Even after Michelle's description of it, I'm so on board with this. I feel like, yeah, it has elements of Mission Impossible, but it's something different. I mean, we've seen traditional style of the Mummy and the Universal monsters. We've seen them try and do it in different styles, and this once again looks stylistically different than what's come before it. And so I'm all for trying to see and do something different, as long as it feels like they're going to stay within the realm of what they're trying to go for and paying homage to the original versions of these things were. Obviously, they've changed it up and tried to do some things differently here. But knowing that, reading that the director said he was a huge fan of the Mummy, the original versions that came out back in the day, that he wanted to try and do something along those lines, but try and make it more for audiences today. I'm curious to see what he came out with, and the trailer intrigued me enough to want to really see the movie more. And now that I did, when I saw that little teaser, it was nothing. So this actually provided me with more substance to make me want to go see the film now. So
where do I stand? I'm Michelle across from me, so I'm scared to say anything.
No, you can say whatever you want. I mean, the beauty of this is that I'm here in Florida and, you know, Bobby's in California. So all the faces that I just made and the cringing that I just felt inside my gut, he didn't viscerally watch any of that. You, on the other hand, I can't. Oh, God.
I'm going to say I'm going into this. I couldn't care less about The Mummy, like, before I saw the trailer. And, you know, the monster franchise from Universal, it's just not my thing. I don't really have any connection to it, I should say. So before seeing this teaser, I wasn't like, man, I can't wait to see something from this. I can't wait. I knew about the production and it wasn't something that really interested me. So watching this teaser, I feel like I'm in the same boat as, I gotta say, Bobby and Yasha here. I'm interested in it. I don't have a connection to this that I need it, you know, to like do a certain thing. So, I mean, to me, I watch it and it looks interesting to me. I don't know. I'd be curious to see a longer trailer and see if it continues to look interesting. I don't know. I can share your concerns about like the certain CG way things look. And sure, I'm a fan of, you know, a more practical look. So, I mean, if I had a negative about it, it would be that. And I think we can agree there. But other than that, I don't know. I'm kind of curious about it. So, yeah,
I mean, for me, and the downside is I'm totally going to see this film because I want to be able to give it my full stamp of hatred and or my full stamp of, oh, no, actually, I was totally wrong. They've proved me wrong. Right. This is actually really good. Like, I'm totally going to see this because I want to know what it's going to be. And yeah, I wish I didn't have a connection with the original, but like, I love classic movies and I love the Universal monsters. Like, there's just something about it, and I don't know. There's a lot of childhood memories and a lot of things and connections that I have, but I mean, I hope they do some kind of a justice to it in a way, and a certain homage to it, because there are different stylizations to each different film depending upon the character that they're focused on. So yeah, I don't know. I'm hopeful, but at the same time, like after seeing this, like, oh God, those hopes were dashed so fast, so hard, so fast. And I'm just, we'll just see what happens when that comes out.
When does it come out? That's a good question. June 9th.
Okay.
You'll get to find out. The busy summer that we will have, it will be a part of. And last, right before this podcast started, they finally dropped the trailer for The Fate of the Furious. I thought this was supposed to drop yesterday, wasn't it? Wasn't it supposed to be Saturday?
I heard Sunday.
Yeah, I heard Sunday.
Oh, okay. I thought it was Saturday. But anyway, yeah, it dropped just before we started recording. What is this, the 8th movie from the Fast and the Furious franchise? Everyone's just been calling it Fast 8, but now it's got a title, The Fate of the Furious. Hey, this one also, the plot is unknown at this time. So, hey, I got 2 of them in one night. Yeah.
We know now.
Well, we know now, kind of.
Yeah.
Michelle, you said many times you've never seen any of these movies, right? Not a frame.
The first 2.
Oh, you saw the first 2. Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh my God.
She did say that.
Why are you giving me that look for? Jeez. I just didn't realize you had seen them.
I've probably seen the first movie probably more times than any of you, actually, believe it or not. And I say that because 1, I worked in a movie theater, but 2, that movie was stupid popular with anyone that was male that I was anywhere even remotely close to even kind of sort of knowing for like my senior year of high school, my first 2 years of college. Like, the movie was on all the freaking time everywhere I went. I've seen that movie so many times, and I actually enjoyed the first movie. The second movie, on the other hand, was...
Yeah, I guess I remember this now, because I think I remember going, yeah, you stopped way too soon.
Oh, yeah,
like,
no.
You totally should have kept going.
No. Good.
No, you really should.
No, Tokyo Drift drifted it right out of my heart.
No. I mean, I think these movies have gotten quite good past the ones that you stopped at, and... yeah, I've been a fan of this franchise, and but with that said, I wasn't a big fan of the last movie. I wasn't a big fan of 7. So I don't know what to make of this one. This was an interesting trailer. I mean, I just watched it right before we started recording, so I haven't really watched it a second time or thought about it more. But I mean, will I go see it? For sure. But having not enjoyed the most recent Fast and Furious movie, I'm a little way more skeptical about this one than I have been, for previous films. So, yeah, Fate of the Furious. That's It is what it is. Bobby, your thoughts?
I guess I feel more hopeful for it because while I didn't like 7 as much as I like 6 and the other ones, this one and 8 just looks like, okay, now I'm kind of, the 7 set the table for me in a different way to what to expect for 8. It just seems like it's going to that realm of teetering on over the top and trying to walk that tightrope as tight as they can. So I'm my only concern, I guess, after seeing it is it overstuffed? And they usually tend to get a little overstuffed, but this one still looked like, now that, because I didn't even realize Jason Statham was coming back for this one, so he's there again, and then you also have the dynamics of the team itself, and then everything else that's involved. And the storyline in which it looks like Dom is sort of turned against the group is compelling. I mean, I want to know what's going on there. Why would he? What would ever cause him to turn against his family in that sense? Why would he do that? So it's interesting to see the part Charlize Theron must play within this whole dynamic of breaking this crew up, and the action always looks like it's going to be things that's going to have you going crazy in the theater, because I gotta say, I mean, I'm sitting there watching the trailer, and when the submarine comes out of the water, I was just like, it was weirdly adrenaline rushing in a way, because it's like you're outrunning a sub on ice, and it's just like it's just insane, the thoughts that go into the sets for these big action pieces, and they continually try and top themselves. And that's almost half the fun in watching these movies, is how will they do it this time? How will they outperform the last movie in terms of how big the action goes? And so it's fun. You go in looking for it to be fun and not looking for anything more than that. And it usually lives up to those expectations.
I think the word you're looking for is substance. You don't go into looking for something.
Exactly. I don't think anyone goes looking for substance. You look for the camaraderie between the characters and big action set pieces.
Right.
Yasha, any thoughts?
Yeah, I haven't really enjoyed this series since Fast Five. I really enjoyed Fast Five. I thought that was fun. I thought it was really over the top, but it was full of action. It was exciting. It kept me guessing. It was a puzzle piece of a movie. I wasn't expecting certain things. I enjoyed it. I feel like they've gone over the top and started definitely jumping the shark. When cars literally jumped from building to building in Furious, what was it? 7, 8? Yeah, the last one.
Yeah, that was 7.
It just got so corny. And this doesn't look like it's changing anything. I mean, and that's one of the things I think I was going to talk about later. But it's like I'm amazed that this franchise continues more and more and bigger each time, and they're just making buttloads of money off of it. Like, Vin Diesel really knows where his bread is buttered, and it's like he is like, you know what, screw it. If this is what they want to see, people, I will keep doing this damn movie over and over and over again, and we'll just make it bigger and bigger and bigger every single time. I mean, I'm kind of interested in seeing it because, like Bobby said, and I think Michelle said it too, why is he going against the family in this next one, as they very much advertised all over the place? They got some big action stars. They got some big action stars in it. They got some big actors and actresses in there. So yeah, I'm interested to an extent, but if it just continues to like get to the point of ridiculousness, even more so than what I thought was the last one, yeah, I'll probably check out sooner or later. But I'm really 50-50 on this one. I just am, like, it just seems kind of like more of the same, and I don't really need to see it.
Yeah, I feel like I watched this trailer and was just laughing the whole way through it.
Yeah.
Like, it just is so ridiculously over the top. And yeah, I mean, they've got to have some kind of, the level of blackmail that Charlize Theron's character has against Dom has got to be so ridiculous for him to turn completely against his family to deal with her, to get to another situation where he winds up back. It seems so silly.
Yeah.
and ridiculousness, along with the fact that they have a freaking orange Lamborghini driving over ice, outrunning Land Rovers, and then a submarine comes up through the I can't.
Of course it does. Of course it does. Of course it does.
Was
I mean, why wouldn't it?
exploding as I was watching this trailer, and I can't.
It took me. I mean, I was the same way when I saw them in the last one. They took the Charger and drove through the nose of a plane. I was like, really? Just like that, huh? That car is just that badass. It just drives through a train, an airplane.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or that Dom's car is magically going to outpower 5 other vehicles. I just have a hard time. Wrapping my head around that concept.
Yeah, and I watch shows. That's the sad thing to me. That's the sad thing, is that we all suspend reality for so many of these movies. Like, oh my gosh, can't wait to watch Beauty and the Beast or Spider-Man or Civil War, and so amped to see it. It's like, and we're still more, that's more believable than Dom's magic car that just takes out 5 muscle cars. Give me a break.
Well, it's like, I would much rather believe Tom Cruise doing incredible things in the Mission Impossible films than what I'm seeing happening in the Fast and Furious films. I don't know why. I feel like I fall into the belief system of that much faster than I do with the Fast and Furious things that I've seen.
Yeah.
Irregardless. Which actually isn't a word, so it should be just regardless.
The Fate of the Furious will be in theaters on April 14th for anyone who is interested. That'll do it for trailers this week. I think we've talked about enough. We'll move on to our One Cool Thing segment. And to start us off with our One Cool Thing, well, to explain first, every week we talk about one cool thing that we have seen in the news or anything we've learned about this week. Go around the table. And Michelle, we will be starting with you this week.
Oh, mine's actually pretty quick and easy. I'll be honest with you. I'm surprised myself. Basically, so the new TV show that NBC has coming out called Powerless. It's a DC Comics twist on things. We found out this week that Powerless, this comedy that'll be taking place within the DC universe, 1, has a premiere date, and 2, it's going to be set inside like a subsidiary company of Wayne Enterprises. I guess it's Wayne Security. I don't know. I'm intrigued. I'm glad that they kind of kept it within the family. Obviously they had to, it's DC, but it kind of puts a little spin on things. It makes you kind of wistful for like, oh, is somebody going to show up every now and then, or there's just going to be fun little mentions of him, I guess, every now and again. But yeah, no, I think it's kind of cool that's where they're putting it as far as the setting. And as far as the release date, I think it was, February 2nd? Now my phone is going crazy on me. Release date, yes, Thursday, February 2nd, 8:30 p.m. on NBC. So yeah, that's my one cool thing.
Cool. Yasha, what's your one cool thing this week?
I'm actually going to touch on a couple of things here. One, I think it's both cool and amazing and shocking that they're still making Fast and the Furious movies and have slated for like 3 more after this one that's getting ready to release. I think it's kind of cool, but I think it's kind of amazing at the same point. This is kind of a cheating move here. I actually think, with the release that they just did for a trailer that we didn't talk about, the new Sherlock Holmes trailer for BBC for season 4, I actually think it's very cool that Martin Freeman and Benedict Cumberbatch still come back to do this show, and they're so dedicated to providing these characters, portraying these characters and playing these characters, and continuously doing it. That's something that I actually did think about when the trailer was released. I was just like, wow, that's really cool that these guys, who are, for all intents and purposes, huge movie stars, especially Benedict Cumberbatch, who has his own franchise that he's starting right now. Martin Freeman's doing his own thing, and Benedict Cumberbatch has a slated of series of movies and is doing very well. But they still come back and they do this. For me, where I really started to get noticed these actors was from Sherlock, and that's where I knew them from. Well, I knew Benedict from Star Trek, and then I went back and watched Sherlock. and fell in love with him as an actor and his talent. And just like, I think it's really cool that these guys continue to do this show because they really don't have to. You know, and BBC is like 4 episodes a season. And, you know, they're long, but I think it's great that they come back and do these shows.
Yeah, can I tell you, I squealed like a little schoolgirl the other morning when I saw that it came out with the new trailer. I was like, oh, it made my day. Because I was excited to be in Hall H when they gave us the first teaser trailer. And then, of course, they released it like the next day and everybody else got to see it too. And I was like, yeah, whatever. Well, I saw it in the cool place, but whatevs. But yeah, no, it is cool that they keep doing it and they keep coming back for it. The downside to saying that is knowing that this is probably going to be the last series. And as heartbreaking as that is for me, because I really love this Sherlock series. I think it's spectacular. I think the writing is amazing. I think the acting is just off the charts good for a TV series, obviously. And I think the camaraderie between all of the actors to create this is very good. And it's done so well. It's so smart and intelligent and quick, and it's great. And but when that trailer dropped this week, oh God, I was so giddy. It was like Christmas morning for me. I was so happy. I was like, oh my God. And I'm glad that you brought that up as your one cool thing, because I was kind of going back and forth on stuff today, but yeah.
Well, I mean, I just do. I always think it's great when actors actually never really forget where they came from or where they've gotten that kind of like one big break. Like hearing Jennifer Aniston talk about Friends and, you know, her love for the show and how much she did it, whether it's BS or not, I actually find it to be kind of endearing, and I find it kind of genuine when she sits there and she can just appreciate it when people crack jokes and they say something, or they talk about, you know, she talks about how much she loves her experience and everything like that, sings nothing but praise. And it's just like, you know, yeah, you don't forget where you come from, forget where you came from, or forget where you got this amazing start per se. And,
right.
You know, it's, you know, where people actually just really started to notice you, and you're getting everything that you wanted because of this one show. And I think that's where Martin Freeman and Benedict Cumberbatch, they probably seem like that, because Benedict Cumberbatch seems so just humbled sometimes with the amount of praise that he gets from people for his talent, that it's like, I really think that he's just very gracious and really appreciative of what he had to go through, and, you know, some of the roles that he's done, especially Sherlock, because I think that's what really launched his career into the next level.
Yeah, I mean, it is. And honestly, I mean, with Martin Freeman, he was known more in the UK than he was here in the US at the time when he started the show. But for us in the US, it was very much like, oh, that guy who had that little side bit in the Love Actually movie? Oh, really? What? And then Benedict Cumberbatch, everybody was like, Benedict, what's that? What? And yeah, I mean, you know, both of them had been fairly well known within the UK and most of Europe, but I mean, this is what put them on the map as far as the United States and Hollywood goes, I guess, in a way. And yeah, I mean, God bless them, because even in Hall H, they were just, Benedict was extremely humble, and he really just, it was amazing to see, and yeah, I appreciate it as well. But yeah, so it's cool because they put out the titles for the 3 episodes for the season, and they put out the new trailer, and it's just awesome. And if you're a fan like I am, because I'm a big nerdy fan like that, you should be just as giddy as I am. But yeah, it starts up January 1, baby. What? Start the new year. I can't wait. I'm so excited. I can't even tell you. Like, I'm literally like, I don't know how. I'm going to have to make sure the hangover is fully set and gone before I start this episode, because I cannot wait. I'm so excited. It's going to be a happy new year for me.
Nice.
2017 is starting out well.
Bobby, your one cool thing this week.
My one cool thing happens to be something that Apple is doing. They're in talks with a lot of this.
Slow down.
I know.
Hold on a second.
This is a Microsoft guy who's excited about something to do with Apple.
Wait. We recorded that. That's actually like for history now. You can actually play that back over and over on a loop. Is that what I'm hearing?
You are hearing correct, Michelle. I am appreciating something that Apple is attempting to do. Whether or not they'll succeed, we'll have to wait and see. But they are in talks with studios right now, in order for them to try and get a smaller release window from movies that are shown in the theater to being shown at home. So they're talking with big studios like 21st Century Fox and Time Warner and Warner Brothers, or I should say Warner Brothers and Comcast Corp. So the Kevin Tsuchihara, who's the Warner Brothers chief running things for the movie production company side of things, had an interview with Bloomberg, and he released a statement where he says, 21st Century Fox, Time Warner, Warner Brothers, and Comcast Corp, Universal Pictures all confirmed over the past week that they are looking to offer high-priced home video rentals of new movies shortly after they open in theaters. Some studio executives have been pushing to allow home rentals as early as 2 weeks after theatrical debuts and are considering a deal with iTunes as one option, said the people, who asked not to be identified because the discussions are private. And they go on to say that they don't know specifically the price, but they're saying that it's possibly between $25 and $50, which obviously if you're just trying to watch that solo, it wouldn't make sense. But if you wanted to have a few people over and say, hey, can you pitch in $5 or whatever, then it makes it all the better. And people have these such great TV sets nowadays, 65 inches, 70 inches, running 4K, that it would be really a good home experience to watch some of these movies. And in the article, they mentioned a movie like Justice League, being able to see that 2 weeks after its theatrical debut. I would say that'd be cool, but I would still first go see it in the theater because that lends itself to being seen in the theater. But hey, if I don't want to keep going back to the theater to watch it and everybody wanted to get together and watch it, then I wouldn't mind pitching in, a few bucks to go see it at somebody's house that's got a real nice setup. And I specifically hope that this translates not just into these big movies, but something that's along the lines of a smaller scale that you don't get to see at every theater, that you can kind of go and say, okay, I want to see this at home. So if Manchester by the Sea came out and then it's not playing anywhere near me, but 2 weeks later I can see it at home. And obviously, again, it's not like I necessarily want to spend the 25 at the low end, but if a few of us got together because we want to see it and we're interested in it, then that would be perfect. And I wouldn't have to worry about trying to go out of my way to go see the movie when it's not playing locally. So I think this is going to be a cool thing, and we'll see how it develops.
Cool. I'd be down for that. I don't know. Especially somebody who's got kids, doesn't make it to the movie theaters often. I'm all for paying for stuff and watching it at home. Yeah, I guess that means I'm next. My one cool thing this week is that I thought it was cool that director James Gunn, director of Guardians of the Galaxy, of course, and the sequel, has responded to a lot of people who are claiming that the decision to have Baby Groot in this movie is kind of a marketing ploy, just to sell toys, I guess, and all that jazz. He responded to it on Twitter. Entertainment Weekly ran an article about it. And then he kind of expanded on it on his own Facebook page. I'm going to read actually one paragraph from it here. To be honest, when I was working on the script for Volume 2, I was planning on being years after the first movie and for little Groot to be a grown Groot. But there was something missing. First of all, I thought there was a lot of development the group needed to go through as a group, and it would be a shame for the audience to miss it. And secondly, for whatever reason, Groot just wasn't working. It was then I came up with the idea for having Volume 2 take place very shortly after the first film, and for Groot to still be Baby Groot, with quite a lot to learn. Even though I had already long ago decided on the other characters involved, this change opened up the whole movie for me, and it suddenly all came together. I fell in love with the script for Volume 2, and it felt like we were creating something very special. He went on to talk about how he really didn't expect Marvel Studios to be game for it at first because Groot was so popular in the first movie, and for Groot to be so different in the second movie would be a big risk, but I guess they were all for it, and yeah, looks like that's that. It was interesting too. He did say, he specifically worded it in one of his tweets that keeping him Baby Groot throughout the film was a creative change. So, I mean, anybody wondering whether or not he would be growing up throughout this film, it kind of sounds like that won't be the case. Sounds like he'll be Baby Groot throughout the movie.
And I think it's a smart move. It's establishing a timeline with the group, with the story as a whole. I mean, it's it's a plant. Like, did they expect him to like grow up within the matter of like 2 years and become a full Groot? Like,
Groot actually grows pretty quick.
He grows pretty fast. I do understand that, but I'm saying, like, did they just want this to magically happen within a few months? Like, I don't. It's silly to me, you know. And I think that this was. I agree. This was a smart decision on his behalf for the storyline and for this things to move along. I think if they were to jump so far in advance, it would be like, wait, what the really? Are you serious? And it's sad to me that people initially, their reaction was, oh, this is a marketing ploy because he's all cutesy and he's a baby. And it's sad. Like, I'm like, I did not have that impression after seeing the trailer at all. Like, I wasn't like, oh, this is all just a big marketing ploy. Like, I was just like, oh my God, we're seeing Groot during different phases of his regrowth / rebirth, whatever you want to call it. I like it, and I don't feel like it's a marketing ploy. I feel like it's just a part of the storyline that has to happen to see him, you know, be reborn or whatever you want to call it, regenerate. I don't know. It is what it is, and I'm totally great with it. And I think it's of course he's freaking adorable. It's Groot. Jesus, he's it's adorbs. But
I just think it's fun too. Like,
yeah, I mean, Jesus, people, this is a fantasy world. For the love of God, have a good, lighten up a bit.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think that. I mean, I thought that when they ended it the first time with the dancing Groot to Marvin Gaye and Tammy Terrell with Drax looking over his shoulder, and it's like he's in the plant. He's like, he looked like a dancing flower. So I'm like, okay, that's definitely probably going to sell some toys. They'd be dumb if they didn't see that and they just were like, oh, let's put this out there and people will buy it. I didn't see this as like a marketing ploy either. I just kind of saw it as like, oh, cool. We get to see baby Groot and see Groot kind of in action in a different phase in his life. This looks like fun. It's cutesy, and yeah, for sure it'll probably sell some toys, but I mean, I'm glad that Marvel let him do it. It's like, at this point, with the way that he's writing these movies and how well they're doing, it's like, get back and out of the way and let James Gunn just kind of do what he wants. Like, he made so much money off of the first one. He created a product where there really wasn't a product before.
Right.
Like, let's just let him run with it. Like, if he has an idea to do this, go for it, dude. Have at it, champ. And just have some fun. Because I mean, it looks fun. It looks great. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah.
Along those lines, to piggyback to what David was mentioning, James Gunn also had said that there had been discussions in terms of toys as far as Nebula is concerned. And apparently there'd been some consideration around getting her own toys and merchandise. And on I think it was a Twitter Q&A, James Gunn had said, and I'll quote it, it says, "I've discussed this a lot with the toy companies. Worry not, lots of Nebula toys are in your future." And I remember back during that time, James Gunn was pretty mad and upset that there wasn't a lot of female representation of the toys from the Guardians of the Galaxy or T-shirts or anything else. And I remember him mentioning at the time, like, a second film, he was going to try and rectify that issue. So it definitely sounds like he's putting his money where his mouth is and really pushing to have more of the female characters have some of that shine as well, which is good. I love that about him.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's our One Cool Thing segment this week, and I think that will do it for this week in general, unless anybody has anything else.
What an episode. Chock full of information and opinions.
Supersized episode indeed. But yeah, with that, we're going to get out of here. As always, you can find us on all the social media accounts that we have: Facebook, Google+, Twitter, YouTube, as I mentioned earlier. You can find links to those accounts over on our website. Just look on the right-hand side. I'm David Lott.
I'm Bobby Jackson.
I'm Yasha Wilson.
And I'm Michelle Curry.
Thanks for listening.